Okay, so today we're going to be talking about how to hide a form or a field on an Acuity appointment booking page. Now, this is not intuitive. It's not a feature that Acuity just has. It is something that you're going to have to add custom to this appointment booking page. A lot of other systems do have this built in, but Acuity doesn't, which is honestly quite annoying. But it is what it is. So to get around the issue, you need to use the advanced CSS feature, and it is actually really simple to do this. So you basically need to copy and paste this code here, and it's just open bracket, square bracket, data hyphen form hyphen ID equals, and then in double quotation marks, the form ID number, and then closed square bracket, and then open curly bracket, and then display colon, none, and then semicolon, and then closed curly bracket. And then you just have to save those changes. Now, I prefer just to do this as a entire form rather than just a form field. You can just do it with a form field if you want, but I find it's just easiest to do this with a entire form and just create a form specifically for hiding. And then everything I want to hide, I just put in that form, and it will hide every field in that form. So I've just taken that code out so you can see the form here, and the form that we've created, it's got ID number and then the UTM parameters. Now, Acuity also doesn't have UTM parameter fields built in, which is again another one of the features that is really lacking in this system. It should just be built in, but it's not. So I often add these for clients and then just hide them on the front end of the form so that people can't see it. Now, yes, you can see the UTM parameters if you're looking in Google Analytics and looking at that data to see where people are filling out your form. Acuity does send that to Google Analytics, but if you want to store that data in some other system like Airtable, which is how we want to store it in this case, Acuity doesn't capture that data and store it in their system. So you're going to have to capture it manually. Now, there's a couple of ways that you need to do that, or there's one way you need to do it. Basically, you just need to inspect. So right-click and inspect like so, and that will give you the ID numbers for everything that you want to look at. So in that code that I showed you here in the advanced CSS, the form ID number, if you right-click on the first field in your form, then that will bring you up basically, and you can just simply hover over and it'll highlight where different things are. So you can sort of see where that form starts. Here's a custom form, and the ID number is right here. So we just simply copy and paste that into our code. If you wanted to just hide a particular field instead of the entire form, then you just change the word form to the word field, and then you just use the field ID number. So you go over to the advanced CSS, change this to field, and then change this to the field ID number. And that would just hide one field out of the entire form. So that's another way to do it. But like I said, easier just doing it for the whole form and just having multiple forms for your appointments. So that's how to do that. Now, if you are going to pre-fill into these fields, then you need to use the correct pre-fill parameters. And it is pretty simple in Acuity to get those parameters. It would be better to be able to set these manually, but Acuity creates them for you, and unfortunately we have to stick with what they create. If we could set them manually, then I could just set it to UTM source, UTM medium, etc., and it would map automatically to those fields, but I can't, so we have to basically do a double mapping for any links coming into Acuity. One mapping goes across to Google Analytics for the standard UTM parameters, and then the second mapping goes across to Airtable and basically copies across the UTM parameters to Airtable using the Acuity field ID references. So if you want to map to a field in Acuity, you would simply use the same styling and append to the URL, the question mark, and here we've got the owner of the appointment type, which personalizes what the appointment that we're booking. In this case, it's the initial call. And then we've got the first field here, the source field, which is this one here. And then we've got the second field there. Now, again, if you want to get the IDs of these fields, you just need to get your inspector open and just click in the field there, and then that will highlight the code, and you can copy that ID and use that in your URL structure. Then once you've got all your URL structure created, you can test it and make sure that you've got the data coming into those form fields. And once you're happy with that, you can then go ahead and hide those fields, and the data will still go into those fields when they're hidden. So if we resend this then, you'll see that those fields are hidden, and we've just got that new photo shoot form. And if we click to inspect here, we'll have that there, and we'll also have our custom form here with our form groups, Airtable ID, UTM source, and these will be still pre-filled on the form when we submit them. They're just hidden from us to be viewing them. So that is how to hide individual fields, how to hide forms, and also how to pre-fill those fields on an Acuity form.